Are you ready to dive into the dirty underbelly of American politics? Today, we're exposing the truth about some of the most corrupt presidents to ever occupy the Oval Office. We're talking bribery, cronyism, abuse of power, you name it. These presidents did it. From Harding's Band of Merry Thieves to Nixon's Watergate fiasco. And of course, we can't forget about good old Joe Biden and his, shall we say, family business dealings. Join me as I uncover the dark secrets of the 7 most corrupt presidents in U.S. history, including a closer look at Biden's dark side. Buckle up, buttercups, because this is going to be a wild ride. Warren G. Harding, the man who looked like a president, but governed like a mob boss. Don't let that charming smile fool you. Behind those pearly whites lurked a man who let his buddies turn the White House into their own personal piggy bank. We're talking about the Teapot Dome scandal, folks, the granddaddy of all political scandals. Harding's cronies, or as he liked to call them, his Ohio gang, were like kids in a candy store, except the candy was oil-rich public land, and the store was the entire United States government. They leased out government oil reserves to private companies in exchange for, you guessed it, cold hard cash and some pretty sweet gifts. And where was Harding while all this was going down? Too busy playing poker with his pals and carrying on with his mistress to notice the country being robbed blind. The Teapot Dome scandal rocked the nation, exposing the dark underbelly of Harding's administration. Harding's presidency serves as a stark reminder that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Richard Nixon, a man whose paranoia and thirst for power ultimately led to his downfall. We all know the name Watergate, but let's be honest, most people don't really understand what went down. It wasn't just about a botched break-in at a hotel, folks. It was about a president who thought he was above the law. Nixon was obsessed with his enemies, both real and imagined. He created an enemies list and used the power of the government to spy on them, harass them, and silence them. When his goons got caught red-handed trying to bug the Democratic National Committee headquarters, Nixon went into full cover-up mode. He lied, obstructed justice, and abused the power of his office to try to save his own skin. But the truth, as they say, has a way of coming out. Investigative journalists like Woodward and Bernstein followed the money and exposed the truth about Nixon's crimes. Facing impeachment and certain removal from office, Nixon finally did the unthinkable. He resigned. Nixon's presidency is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of a free and independent press. Franklin Pierce, the man who proved that sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Pierce rode into office on the coattails of a popular predecessor, but his own presidency was a masterclass in mediocrity, and you guessed it, corruption. Pierce surrounded himself with yes-men and cronies who proceeded to use their positions of power to enrich themselves at the expense of the American people. They handed out government contracts to their buddies, accepted bribes like it was going out of style, and generally acted like they owned the place. And what did Pierce do about all this? Not a darn thing. He turned a blind eye to the rampant corruption swirling around him. He was a weak and ineffective leader who allowed corruption to flourish under his watch. Pierce's presidency is a reminder that character matters in a leader. Andrew Johnson, the man who took over after Lincoln's assassination and proceeded to make everyone miss Honest Abe even more. Johnson was a stubborn, vindictive man who clashed with Congress at every turn. He was also, surprise, surprise, corrupt. Johnson was impeached by the House of Representatives for violating the Tenure of Office Act, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. His administration was riddled with scandals, from bribery and graft to outright theft of government funds. Johnson's cronies were like vultures, picking at the carcass of the Reconstruction-era South. They lined their pockets with taxpayer dollars meant to help rebuild the war-torn region, leaving the newly freed slaves and impoverished whites to fend for themselves. Johnson's presidency was a tumultuous period in American history, marked by political turmoil, social unrest, and yes, rampant corruption. Grant's presidency was plagued by scandal, tarnishing his legacy. He was a trusting man, perhaps too trusting. Surrounded by friends and former comrades, many turned out corrupt. Scandals like the whiskey ring and credit mobilier eroded public trust. Grant's presidency shows even heroes can fall to power's corrupting influence. Calvin Coolidge, the man who slept his way through the Roaring Twenties. Coolidge was known for his quiet demeanor and his laissez-faire approach to government. He believed in limited government intervention in the economy, which in theory sounds great. But in practice, it allowed corruption to flourish unchecked. Coolidge's administration was rife with scandals, from the Teapot Dome scandal, which actually began under Harding, to the Ohio gang's continued plundering of the public coffers. One of the most egregious examples of Coolidge's blind eye toward corruption was the Justice Department scandal involving his Attorney General, Harry Daugherty. Daugherty was accused of accepting bribes and using his position to obstruct justice. Coolidge's inaction and indifference allowed corruption to become deeply entrenched in the government. And finally, we come to the current resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Joe Biden. From the moment he took office, Biden has been dogged by allegations of corruption and abuse of power. And let's not forget about his son, Hunter, and his, shall we say, business dealings. Remember that laptop? The one the mainstream media tried to bury? Yeah, that one. We're talking about influence peddling on a global scale, folks. Hunter Biden trading on his father's name to secure lucrative deals with foreign entities, some of them with ties to hostile governments. And where was Joe during all of this? Conveniently positioned to offer a helping hand to those who were lining his family's pockets. And then there's the whole Ukraine situation. Joe Biden using his position as vice president to pressure the Ukrainian government to fire a prosecutor who just happened to be investigating a company that his son just happened to be involved with. The Biden administration has been trying to sweep all of this under the rug, but the American people deserve the truth. From Warren G. Harding's poker-playing cronies to Joe Biden's international family business corruption has been a recurring theme throughout American history. It's a sobering reminder that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, but it's also a call to action. We, the American people, must hold our leaders accountable, regardless of their party affiliation. We must demand transparency, integrity, and a commitment to serving the public good, not personal gain. The stories of these 7 presidents and the countless others who succumbed to the temptations of corruption should serve as a cautionary tale for generations to come. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance, and that includes vigilance against those who would abuse their power for personal enrichment. If you're intrigued by this exploration of presidential corruption, don't forget to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe for more eye-opening content on U.S. history and political intrigue.